And I'm back. There are dead flowers poking out of the snow at the bottom of the tree. Everyone freaks out. We've been following a ghost this whole time? What the fuck? Where's our real tour guide? Stephanie says, Andy, we're going to try and lead these people to the forbidden cabin. Andy says, did you bring the camp's map? Stephanie takes out a map. Unfortunately, it's the one of Camp New Horizons, not Rolling Hills. Stephanie goes, shit. One ghost hunter tells her he has a Camp Rolling Hills map on his shirt. He shows her his Camp Rolling Hills fan t-shirt. Coach Meatloaf says, I know we came here to have fun, but we all need our 8 to 10 hours of sleep. So Jan, can you set us up for that? Counselor Jan says, yeah, and turns off the black lights and cleans up from the party. She says, Coach, you take the furthest room down with your 2 girlfriends. Zeke, you take the room next door. Betty, you take the room next door to him. Sound good? They all agree and go up to their rooms. She continues cleaning. Jan! There's a damn spider in my room! Help! Really quickly! Girls, go downstairs now! She says, are you sure? Yes! Calm down and wait there. He says, it's big and has nasty fangs sticking out of his head. She grabs an empty soda cup and then thinks. She retrieves a hatchet from her backpack and stuffs it in her belt. The 2 girls come down shivering from an unknown issue. And I say that because there is no spider, spoiler alert, and so who knows what happened with them. They sit on the couch. Coach Meatloaf hurries her in there and says, in the corner, it's like 10 inches long. She says, I highly doubt it. Then she goes to the corner and looks for it. He turns around and locks the door. She bends over to see, and she doesn't see anything, so she stands up and turns around. He's got his pants down. She gasps and stands there in shock. You know why they call me Coach Meatloaf? It's because I'm as big as a cookie sheet and everybody loves me, whether they want to or not. She grasps the hatchet hidden in her belt. She says, oh yeah? He says, yeah, moving closer to her. I want to have a fun week here. It's bad enough you locked us in here. It's bad enough you took away our phones. It's bad a way you're not even telling me who you really are. I think you should make it up to me, or else I'm going to sue this camp and buy it. And better yet, sue you too, whoever you are. He walks closer to her. She says, okay, come closer. He says, good girl, and walks closer to her. That's when all of a sudden she uses the hatchet to cut a fishing line hooking up to a trap on the ceiling, an open bear trap attached to a string. It swings down and clamps and chops off his erect penis. She watches him fall to the ground, blood squirting everywhere. Then she puts the cup on the ground and turns him over to his side so he can bleed out into the cup. You did say you wanted to get your blood work done. Don't worry, I'm a professional. He screams and calls for help. Everyone rushes to the door and knocks, asking what's going on. Counselor Jan says, the spider jumped on him! Ah! Everyone goes back to their rooms. Then she gags him. She says, when they gave me the operation, they didn't tell me what they were doing. They showed me. They put it on a big screen in front of me so I could see my everything getting cut up and twisted, and she turns him back on his back and takes out her phone. She turns it on and is surprised to see 60 missed texts from Jan. It says, I'm me tooing you, you sack of shit. You wouldn't come visit me and sleep with me. She rolls her eyes. She turns on her video camera and starts taking a video, raising the hatchet. Then I saw it for the first time in the mirror. Want to see what it looked like back then? She lowers the hatchet and chops into his crotch over and over again. He screams with the gag in. Then she stops the video and drops the hatchet. She shows him the video and he begins crying and squirming. He's bleeding out. She picks up the fully bloody cup and says, "Congratulations! Your testosterone level is good. Your sperm count is good. But unfortunately, you tested positive for shit person. Wait here while I get the bill." She pours the blood all over his face and retrieves fresh clothes for herself from the wardrobe. "Oops, sorry." He watches in pain and horror as he quickly bleeds out. Stephanie is leading the group through the snowy forest. The shirt guy standing in front of her. The snow has reached 8 inches. People are walking so slowly. She says, "We're almost there, people. Calm down. Keep cool." Andy says, "Do you hear that?" Stephanie turns and asks, "What?" Andy says, "Shit!" Stephanie says, "How original. Let's go." He says, "No, I swear I just heard someone say shit." Stephanie says, "We're getting closer." Andy says, "Piss!" Stephanie stops again and says, "Andy, what are you doing?" He says, "I swear I just heard someone say piss." It's a female voice. I can feel the breath on my neck. He looks to the left and sees the ghost of Allie, covered in leeches. She ushers for him to follow her. A ghost hunter says, "He's onto something. Let's follow him." Stephanie says, "What are you, stupid? Wait, She reluctantly follows along too. Soon they reach a glowing cabin, the Forbidden Cabin. Andy, being the former serial killer, is appropriate to discover it. He is in amazement. Allie's ghost says, "Hurry, hurry, before the dyke finds out." Everyone else rushes to it even though they can't see Allie. He opens the door. Counselor Jam walks down the stairs to find the babes sleeping on both couches. And they're also I would say, instead of sleeping, let's just have them like sitting there like fucking looking at their iPads or something, watching, I don't know, weird videos. She asks them for help in cleaning up the party. They ignore her. She starts humming the Freddy Krueger children's song, 1-2, Freddy's coming for you, blah, blah, blah. You guys know. Grabbing the Freddy mask next. Then she grabs a tent pole and attaches a homemade spear to the end by shoving it inside and hot gluing it. She takes the mask off for a second. Then she wakes up one babe at a time and tells them, "He says for you, you two, you can go back up there now." When they walk upstairs, she puts the mask back on and hums the Freddy song again. They turn around and gasp. She says, "Hey, wait a minute. That song needs 2 people to sing it." And then she shoves the spear through them both, skewering them on the stairs, similar to how the Indian mascot guy on the main lodge was skewering an innocent camper. They scream in pain. Then she swings them to the left, making them break the staircase and fall down to their deaths. Suddenly, she feels something strange. Up to this moment, she has looked exactly like Felissa Rose as Angela, but she feels a pain inside of herself. She walks downstairs and sits on the couch next to the fireplace. She begins staring off into space, like in Sleepaway Camp 1. Andy and Stephanie go through the killer's cabin. They look at the whiteboard where it says, "Find the camp, Camp Cocksucker." Stephanie immediately looks it up on her phone. She says it's right across the street. The ghost hunters rush out to go to the camp, thinking it's all a game. Then there's a scare where the cassette player starts playing Angela's haunting voice, rattling off something. "It's the parents! The parents are the one Andy interrupts it by shooting the cassette player with his water pistol. Stephanie goes, "Good job, Andy. I hope you're happy you just destroyed evidence." Andy's face turns cold, soulless, dark, like Angela. Suddenly, Stephanie is standing right next to Angela Baker. Angela. Wait, why did I type Angela a second time? That's weird. I guess it was just a mistake. The campers rush downstairs and see someone completely different sitting by the fireplace. A blonde woman staring into space. They approach her. It's just Zeke, Yolanda, and Betty. What the? Molly looks up at them with her cold stare. Molly from Sleepaway Camp 2. Now we see a shot paralleling the shot of Angela staring up at the lake, at the people at the lake in Sleepaway Camp, and then Molly staring up at them. The shots cut back and forth. We see the ending of Sleepaway Camp 2. It's Molly. Instead of killing her like everyone thought, Angela picks her up and ties her up in the car. She never killed her. She never would have either, by the way. Because, I mean, I can't believe, like, I gotta be honest. I wonder, like, there's nothing in the movie that leads you to believe that Angela would actually kill her. Like, she wanted to keep her hostage. Like, that's pretty clear. So, I always thought that was kind of like something that, like, that was like an obvious setup for a good sequel, in my opinion. Angela paces around in the forbidden cabin with Molly sitting there, tied up. She's brainwashing her, lecturing her about her belief she has to kill. It's freaky, surreal, trippy, creepy. She announces, "I've been wrong all this time. It was never the kids I should have been mad at. It was the parents." Molly squirms. The parents are the ones. They make their kids turn out rotten from the core, but they aren't half as bad as their parents. We see Angela bleeding out on the prison floor and laughing. She dies and gets left behind by her devout followers. So this is just like a string of reveals. So I just wanted to make that clear. I would probably have captions at this point. Angela stares into Stephanie's eyes. Stephanie tried appealing to Andy. Then Angela begins laughing a demonic laughter. Like the kind in a Return to Sleepaway Camp, the ending of that crappy movie. She begins taunting Stephanie and calling her a bad parent, telling her she killed her own daughter. Stephanie backs away from her. She tries finding a weapon. Zeke and Yolanda surround Molly while Betty takes her phone. Betty begins calling the police. Molly says, I don't know what is going on. Angela, please don't leave me. There's no food. Angela, please. Angela. She's almost zombie-like. Stephanie feels around for a weapon. Angela rushes to her and says, "Don't even think about it." She grabs the pair of handcuffs out of Stephanie's pocket and handcuffs her before she can fight back. "You interrupted my work and slowed down the movie. To top that off, your parenting skills suck. You're gonna pay." She picks up a giant stick and says, "How would you prefer I kill you?" This stick right here is a national treasure of a weapon. It could be worth a lot of money on eBay. It could kill someone with a single blow somehow. It's from Sleepaway Camp 3. She practice swings the stick at Stephanie, taunting her more. And if you guys don't know, that's a little reference. You know, in Sleepaway Camp 3, they didn't have a budget, and so she just basically whacks people with a stick the whole movie. So it's pretty funny that she would actually pick up that stick later and then take it back to the cabin and keep it. Molly turns to Zeke and says, "Wait a minute. You're not here to hurt me. Help me, please. I don't know what's going on here." Zeke says, "What's the last thing you remember?" She says, "Angela, she killed almost my entire camp. Then she kidnapped me and faked my death. And she was trying to brainwash me, turn me into a killer like her." Yolanda asks, "What's your name?" She says, "Molly." Then the ghost hunters arrive at the door and rush in to try to help, only to be awestruck. Betty gets the keys in Jan's pocket and unlocks the doors and windows, by the way. Because Betty's just kind of walking around, having a hard time talking to the police because she's an airhead. And so they all know it's Molly and are acting like they're meeting a celebrity. Betty continues calling the police and having a hard time. Angela says, "Shouldn't have fornicated multiple times too, for hours. But I guess you're gonna die a happy camper, right?" Just as she swings the stick, a hulking hand grabs it in midair. A reversal of the Stepfather 3 ending, where it was someone grabbing the 2x4 out of Stephanie's hand in midair, and it was an evil thing. It wasn't a good thing. It's Sean's ghost. He's fucking pissed. He says, "Hold him, Allie." Allie, as well as every other past victim, holds on to her. Sean's ghost grabs away the iconic stick and breaks it in half. Then he helps Stephanie break free by picking the handcuff lock. Angela screams and fights to break free, but the ghosts hold her back. She says, "Ugh, fine, take him back." She leaves Andy's body, causing him to look like Andy again. Stephanie tells Andy. Sean's ghost then tells Stephanie, "Help Molly." She tells him thank you and runs off with Andy. We pull down on the main lodge. Obsession, desperate to survive. Sleepaway Camps 2 end credits song begins to play. Molly feels uncomfortable being harassed by the ghost hunters. She is afraid. Then she feels something enter her body. Her face becomes cold and evil again. Then the power goes out and the fireplace mysteriously goes out too. She reaches over at Zeke and grabs his neck, crushing it. Everyone is too scared to try to grab her. Even Zeke is too scared and barely able to move a muscle. She then stands up and picks Zeke up with one hand. Her fingers crush through his neck to where they draw blood and crush his vocal cords. He can't breathe. Everyone is panicking. The ghost hunters run upstairs and into the kitchen. Yolanda runs outside to warn John Boy. But she doesn't actually, because she's a fucking selfish bitch. That's just a spoiler. Betty stays there trying to call the police. Molly, her hand covered and soaking in fresh blood, stares into Betty's eyes. She reaches into her backpack and grabs a bow and arrow. "Mind if I take my shot at you?" Betty begins to run. Immediately, her arm with the phone is stuck against the wall. Molly steps on her phone. Finally, she arrows both of her feet against the hardwood floor. Then she arrows the other arm against the wall. She finally raises the bow and arrow and fires, penetrating her brain through her eyeball. She lowers the bow and arrow and goes to her trusty backpack. She takes out a flare gun and walks towards the kitchen. She kicks on the door since it's locked. Oh shit. I just lost my light. The light burned out. I guess I'll have to have the door open for the rest of this. Sorry. Okay, I lost my place. She kicks it until it's open. The lone crying ghost hunter is holding the cleaver against Molly. Molly says, "You wanted to see some ghosts. It would help if you became one." She then takes out a flare from the gun and starts it as the ghost hunter charges at her. The ghost hunter slashes at the flare, causing the cleaver to heat up. Molly then walks towards the hunter, the flare overpowering her and burns her arm, grabbing the cleaver with both hands. She proceeds to slice open the hunter's throat with the steaming hot cleaver, blood gushing everywhere. Molly lets her fall to the ground and takes her headlamp. She grabs the fire axe from the wall and heads upstairs. Yolanda knocks on John Boy's door for help. She can barely move through the 10 inches of snow. John Boy is sound asleep, having a great old time. Yolanda starts running towards Pee-wee. Then she's like, "Fuck Pee-wee," and she runs to the front. Pee-wee is still crying and shivering like a little bitch. Molly exits a room with her bloody axe. She walks down the hall. We see that room with 2 bloody bodies laying there. She's already killed 2 more people. She hacks at one door and then unlocks it. She peeks her head in the hole and says, "Here's Betty Finn!" And if you guys don't know, that's the character that Renee Estevez played in Heathers. So I was kind of wondering what reference I should do there. Then she opens the door. One of the hunters backs up towards the window. Molly says, "Go ahead, make my Fandango highlight clips." The hunter steps in another trap, falls out the window, and hangs by the spear the Indian statue is holding. He chokes to death. Molly turns to his girlfriend. His girlfriend says, "Can Pamela Springsteen come back for the sequel?" Molly yells, "I'm so sick of hearing about Pamela fucking Springsteen." She axes the girlfriend in the chest and pins her against the wall with it. Then she pushes her body down the axe, making it cut her upper half in half. Yolanda gets to the main road where she sees Stephanie and Andy. Instead of going to them, she just runs away in the snow. Doesn't give a fuck about anything but running. Stephanie and Andy hurry towards the camp. The last ghost hunter cowers in the corner of the last bedroom. Molly says, "It's always the rules to hide at camp. It's against the rules to hide at camp. Even if there's an intruder, you're always supposed to find your nearest counselor first. Oh wait, that's me." She opens the door, now wielding a baseball bat. The ghost hunter grips his phone and turns on his phone's flashlight. She approaches him and says, "Aw, you look stressed out. How about a game of softball to really loosen you up?" She swings at his head. He points the flashlight at her eyes and she misses. He gets up and runs into the hallway. She runs at him. He goes into the room where the guy fell out the window and runs for it. She growls. He jumps at the window at the guy hanging there for cover. She says, "I love piñatas. It's not my birthday, though, or Molly's." She swings at the body, not caring about the broken glass slashing against her hands. Then she gets an idea. She looks off screen and says, "Hey, director, is this movie in 3D? No? Whatever." We see him hanging onto that guy's body. Then the bat comes flying out towards the screen, hitting it and hitting the guy and making the ghost hunter splat fall to his death. Stephanie says, "We still don't know Angela's weakness, but we know Molly's." Andy says, "Are you ready for this?" Stephanie takes out her bug spray. Molly exits out the back door with her backpack on. Then she remembers Pee-wee. She goes into another cabin and grabs Carl's pack of steroids and heads toward the outhouse. She unlocks the padlock and Pee-wee screams. She says, "I said I would save the worst for last, didn't I?" She takes out a steroid bottle and injects 6 needles. Then she pushes him out on his knees. Okay, now one second. I'm going to take a drink. Coach Meatloaf told me about your blood work. He said every level possible was low. Time for a few vitamin shots. She places 3 needles in between her fingers on each hand. First, she stabs the left hand's worth of needles into the top of his skull. She presses them down. He screams hard. Then she stabs the other group of needles through his neck. She rips off his shirt from the back and says, "Now that you're all fixed up, I'll write you a doctor's note. It's good for the rest of your life off of work." She drops him. Just as she's about to walk away for good, she decides she's not finished yet. She picks him up and says, "Do you know what I hate about people like you?" He shakes his head. Now, I want to see if I can do something. Sorry, it's just, I don't think it's good to leave this door open and drain the batteries, so I'm going to see if I can use the phone's flashlight. Possibly while I'm recording. Okay, I think, yeah, it's working. Cool. Okay. He shakes his head. The snow is reaching 1.5 feet. She says, "Not just vegans. No, I mean people like you. You ruin camp for everybody trying to have a good time. You suck out all the happiness and joy, and you force the people in charge to bend to your demands. You force them to change everything so it fits a constantly changing standard. And then you send your kids there to have the most miserable summer of their lives. And then they come home, and they have to come home to you for a childhood of hell. They have no break. They get no place to hide, no place to escape. Then by the time they're 18, they're already shittier than you ever were. Then when you're confronted by the truth is people like you have no spine." She pulls out a sharp hammer and digs it into the back until it reaches the top of the spinal cord. She attaches it to it and then steps on his back, yanking the spinal cord out of his skin. It slowly but surely rips out, tearing flesh, blood squirting out, pieces of muscle sticking to the, nerves and everything. He screams in horror and cries. She smiles, his body covered in snow, and she proudly holds it like a fish. She says, "Gee, I never had a camp souvenir this big." Besides Coach Meatloaf's. "Thank you, everyone. I proudly accept this token of gratitude. And remember, Camp Cocksucker. Sing the happy cat." She sees a light inside the main lodge. Stephanie has her nose covered as she's looking around. She says, "I hope we're not too late." She then searches the drawers. Andy says, "We probably would find better weapons in the kitchen." She says, "Be careful. You don't want to slip on a puddle of blood and get a concussion like an idiot." And that's a reference to Halloween 2, by the way. I really love that movie. It's actually my favorite in the series. But I just thought, yeah, that guy was an idiot. He shines his headlamp at the floor. She finds a pair of matches in the drawer along with candles, most likely for if a storm wiped out the power or something. Andy steps over bodies while he's looking around. He goes straight for the kitchen knives, since that's what he used to use when he was a killer. He grabs 2 of them and stands there reflecting on things. "Don't kill her. Don't kill her," he whispers to himself. Then we see the reflection of one of the knives. It's Molly, slowly emerging out of the darkness. She came through the window. He looks around at the counter instead of the knives. He sees a bowl of fruit. She moves closer in the knives' reflections, holding something. He grabs an apple and takes a bite, symbolizing taking a bite of forbidden fruit. Then he whispers, "Sigh. Don't kill her, Andy. Keep it together. Don't kill her." Molly says, "No, kill her, Andy. Kill her good." That's when he turns around and stabs her in the chest with both knives, and then she throws a metal fishing net around his head. She then pulls on the top, causing the net to cut into his face. Stephanie runs in the kitchen and is horrified to see the scene. The knives slowly but surely fall out of the skin. It's almost like the knives, they didn't even penetrate her body. They penetrated like some sort of a spiritual force field, So then, okay, sorry, I lost my place. She holds up her bug spray, lighting the spray on fire and setting Molly on fire. Molly screams a demonic scream. Ah! She turns around and groans, the fire melting some sort of a spiritual flesh on the outside of Molly slowly. She says, why would you want to hurt Molly? When her body chars up like a bad bratwurst, I will just use him again. She picks up the cleaver and starts walking towards Stephanie. Stephanie gets into her fighting position. All of a sudden, a squirt of water hits Molly in the face, and then another and another. Andy is squirting her up a storm to extinguish her. She turns and growls, stomping on Andy's water gun. She stomps on his hand then. Then Stephanie grabs the ironing board and whacks Molly to the ground. Molly's mouth starts bleeding. She looks up at Stephanie and says, this is the part where the final girl runs. Stephanie runs away. Molly laughs and says, runners! I'd probably change that line. She then takes a shiny machete out of her backpack and charges at Stephanie. Andy slowly tries getting up. Stephanie is hiding underneath the card tables with food and drink. They have plastic tablecloths covering the sides. Molly looks around and then swings at the tables, seeing Stephanie's shadow. She swings and cuts into the tables. Stephanie crawls forward. Molly cuts into the sodas, causing a ton of soda to spill on the floor. So then she slips and falls on the soda as Stephanie makes a run for it. Then she springs up, following her upstairs. She sees all of the doors are open except for Arthur's door. She knocks on it and then slashes at it. She realizes it's open. She sees someone sitting with the headlamp at the window, facing away from her like in Psycho. She prances towards her, smiling. She knows Stephanie's trying to play a trick on her. She turns around and slashes, accidentally causing a fire extinguisher to explode on her. Stephanie gets up holding the metal bat. She says, I'm not a runner, I'm a fighter. And then she swings it at Molly. Molly blocks it with her machete. They go back and forth, blocking each other's hits, only for Molly to get a long slash across Stephanie's face. Stephanie gets taken off guard. Quickly, she gets angry and hits Molly's elbow, causing the machete to fall to the floor. Molly goes, ah! And then Stephanie throws the bat, punching and kicking her to the ground. She overpowers every move Molly tries to make easily. Finally, she picks up the machete. Molly is bleeding and beaten clearly. She laughs again and says, go ahead, make me your first kill. I dare you. Stephanie gets the look of evil in her eyes. She doesn't care anymore, just like Andy. She looks so convincingly evil, it makes Molly go, oh shit. She swings the machete, and that's when Andy runs in. Stephanie purposefully misses. She was bluffing to see if Angela's spirit would leave. And so basically, what they're kind of trying to do, and this is a very subtle thing here, in terms of like the way it's presented. They know that Angela loves Molly, and she doesn't want anything bad to happen to Molly. And so they think maybe if they're trying to hurt Molly, then Angela will leave, or she'll disappear somewhere. So that's kind of what they're trying to do. And so it kind of has worked a little bit, but, I guess the spiritual force field, it only goes on for so long, so she's really worried at this point. Okay, let me find my spot. Molly then tries to get up and overtake them. They team up together on her and beat her. Andy and Molly taking turns, which I thought was awesome too. I'm not going to succumb to the modern crap where it's like, a guy can't hit a girl, even if she's trying to kill him. No, I'm going to have it to be where it's equal. Both people can hit each other as much as they want, whenever they want, in movies. Okay. They throw her on the bed and wrap her in the blanket. Andy says, I have an idea. Help me carry her. They carry her down the stairs. She's fighting and fighting with them. They carry her outside into the blizzard. 18 inches and counting. To the lake, Stephanie says. That's your big plan? What is your major obsession with water? Andy says, I'll tell you next movie. Stephanie says, but what if there isn't a next movie? Andy says, well, then them bastards are going to have to forget about it. They take her to the frozen lake. Hold her while I work on the lake. Stephanie grips her tightly. Andy digs through the snow, getting to the ice. He cracks it open with the kitchen knives. Hurry, throw her in. Stephanie trusts him and throws her in the water. She screams loudly. She doesn't come back up. And so this is kind of like a double-pronged attack. It's actually to me, I didn't even realize, this is actually a really smart idea in terms of the characters. Because on one hand, I have read, actually, in doing some research for my own spiritual problems that I've been dealing with, if you take a cold shower, it could possibly, excise, get rid of, spirits that are inside of you that are evil. And at the same time, of course, it's like a threat. It's like, she's not going to be able to survive for long in this freezing water. So it's like, oh shit, you got a double-pronged attack. We see Molly emerging out of the water in Sleepaway Camp 2 in the pool after going swimming. She climbs out, refreshed and happy. It's a beautiful sunny day. She sees Sean and goes to sit by him. Andy jumps into the lake without even thinking. He swims around the frozen abyss. It's like dying at the slowest speed possible. He swims and swims. Stephanie stands there worried. Molly is about to say something to Sean. Sean says, shh, not yet. She smiles at him. Then she looks over and realizes it's not actually there. She's not actually there. Andy grabs Molly and hands her up to Stephanie. Stephanie is glad he's okay. He climbs out and says, Molly, is that you? Did it work? Sorry, I just thought I saw something. Molly says, yes, I'm Molly Nagel. Are you guys here to rescue me? They cheer and embrace Molly, walking her through the snow. Will you guys take me home? My mom's gonna kill me. Stephanie says, we can talk about it. Molly says, what? You're not with Angela, are you? Andy says, oh no. Stephanie says, Stephanie says, we're the good guys. She says, good guys, that's good. They walk off. When they get on the main road, they escort her to their van. When they're about to open the door, Andy sees footprints leading to the van. He also notices snow has been cleared off the windshield mostly. He holds up the knife and opens up the car. It's some random guy. They all scream. The guy says, wait, don't hurt me. I'm just a tour guide. I'm new. I was going to give a ghost tour, and nobody showed up. This was the closest shelter I could find to wait until the storm went down. I promise. Andy backs off and says, you can ride with us in the morning. Until then, just stay quiet and stay up front. We'll all sit in the back. He says, "Aw, thanks guys, I'll give you a free ghost tour next time to make up for the trouble." Stephanie says, "It's no trouble." They get in the van. They relax and just try to keep warm. Stephanie and Andy snuggle. Molly sits alone in the corner, so confused. It's morning. 3 feet of snow on the ground. Everyone wakes up. The ghost hunter peeks back and says, "Morning! Want to share a protein cookie?" The flavor is called Double Stank Chunk. They all shake their heads no. Andy climbs up front. The van drives off slowly. John Boy wakes up and immediately starts playing NES. The hitchhiker Andy and Stephanie did not want to pick up continues to lumber along the road. The van passes him. Then the van stops and slows down and turns around. The hitchhiker stops. Stephanie opens up the van door and says, "Hey, mister, you still want to ride?" The camera swings around to his face to reveal it is Leatherface himself. He is wearing a fresh human face, similar to Yolanda's. Wait, no, it's not. Sorry, that was that was not supposed to be in there. That has to do with the casting part, but that was not supposed to be there. Sorry. Which is molded to his face with wax. His whole face looks like wax. It's creepy. He climbs in the van. The van drives off. The end. Now the full title reveal is Sleepaway Camp 5, Angels of Death. And so the point of that is, of course, that Molly is really the angel of death. Angela is like a helper because she's just a spirit. So I thought that was a great idea for a title. Post-credits scene, a dark figure sleeps in a messy, gross shack. The figure wakes up and stands, holding up a machete. Okay, last page. I'm turning it while holding my phone with the flashlight. And then we'll talk about the casting. He hears construction vehicles going off. Then we see Jason Voorhees' face with his iconic mask. We then hear ma, 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 and he breathes heavily, stomping off outside. Boom. So, that's my Sleepaway Camp pitch. It took like 3 days or like 2.5 days, but I really loved writing it. It was a lot of fun. I do think that there could be some improvements, especially with, I did want the characters to talk more about their kids, since that is the whole point of she wants to punish these evil parents. But at the same time, I felt like it was going on for too long in terms of making a video, so I was trying to speed it up. So if you were to see the full version, there'd be more stuff with that. I think more stuff with just in general of bodybuilding stuff, maybe have an exercise bike in there and one of them's using it the whole time or something. I don't know. Just some touches like that. And then I do think with the ending fight, it could be a little bit more clearer in terms of as I said, they're wearing down the spiritual covering that Molly has, and it's almost like Angela wants to protect Molly more than the people who have come to help her. And so that's actually kind of the irony of it. Okay, so Arthur, the guy who says he's always bulking, I thought should be played by Oliver Cooper, who was Levon from Californication season 7. He was not a bad actor in that. It's just his character was trash. So I think he would be a great annoying character. Betty, the thirst trap, should be played by Laura Frazier, aka Lydia from Breaking Bad. And of course, I gotta say it, like, I would simp for Lydia all day, all night. Like, that's what I think about Lydia from Breaking Bad. Like, she is a goddess tier, and she better definitely be Betty. Carl would be played by John Cena, who I think that, I was trying to find... I really think that Carl... it's really too bad that Rich Piana died, because it would have been the perfect role for him. I was just trying to find, like, big, buff dude. So, John Cena. Pee-wee would be played by Christopher Mintz-Plasse, a.k.a. McLovin. And, of course, he would be a great swarmy little Pee-wee person, a little nerdy vegan guy. You've all seen, like, the vegan gains guy on YouTube, and people like him. That's who this character is, like, parodying. And then I did see, I was finding a video about how to do transcendental meditation, and I found this hilarious guy, and he talked about drinking your own pee and gargling it, and so I kind of thought of his character when I wrote this script. And then Jerry Lynn would be played by Annabeth Gish, a.k.a. Reyes from the X-Files. I really wanted to give her a role, because I thought, after all, she did a good job, and I loved her character after I gave her a really hard time at first. And I thought, she could be probably a really good biatch. She could be a really good, like, greedy person. And I will talk about the symbolism after this. Yolanda would be played by Jordana Brewster. And I was kind of thinking about making her Betty at first, because she was actually in a movie called Home Sweet Hell, where she played like a thirst trap character. She's great though, She was in Texas Chainsaw at the beginning, and so that's why I kind of thought of her. And why I kind of thought of, oh, maybe she should meet Leatherface on the road and he should kill her again. But I thought, no, she should just get away. Like, I don't think you've ever seen that in a horror movie before, where you have a final girl and she just runs away, and there's not even like any attempt to fight or anything. Like, she's just like, fuck this shit. So then Zeke, and I named that character Zeke after Zeke from Phantom of the Auditorium, Goosebumps. He would be played by Edwin Hodge. Now, I have seen him quite a few times. He was in My Teacher Ate My Homework as a kid. Oh, shit. That wasn't supposed to happen. It was just my charger. He is a really good actor, actually, and I think he would be a great person to be in this movie. And I just love to see him as this character, because I really actually liked, I don't know, I think I might have liked Zeke or Yolanda the most. And then Babe 1, I thought it would be pretty funny if Babe 1 would be Andy Matichak, and then Babe 2 would be Peyton List. It would just be so funny to have like these really well-known actresses, and they just don't really say or do much of anything the whole movie, and it's kind of like, why did you even get them in the roles? Like, that would be like the funny part of it, And then John Boy, the driver, I would want to be Harrison Thomas, who was Lyle in Better Call Saul. And I just feel like he would be the perfect, like, driver guy who gets to, like, hang out, and he doesn't even get in any danger the whole film. So, now I want to talk briefly, and I'm going to turn off my flashlight. I'm going to talk briefly about the symbolism, because I do need to go eat my Chinese food, which I hope isn't cold by now. So basically what I was thinking is that in a fucked up way, the outhouse represents hell. Because, I mean, the whole movie, Pee-wee is just suffering and suffering and suffering. There's no relief to him. It's just like, okay, he got judged and he got sent straight to hell. And then in the middle, you have John Boy. And he is basically like in limbo. He's stuck in limbo in this cabin. And, you know, Coach Meatloaf was supposed to go in there, but he didn't. And so that's pretty funny, too. You know, Coach Meatloaf, I do think he needed more since he was the CEO. You know, he should have tried to exercise his power a little bit more, you know, instead of just doing it at the last second. Like a kind of like a surprise type thing. But John Boy is like, he's like in limbo. You know, he's not in hell, and then he's not, you know, in heaven. And then the weird thing is that heaven, to me, is the main lodge, and that is where you have all these people, and they're gonna get killed by this killer. And so that's kind of like the twist on everything, is that there really is no heaven. There really is no safe place. And that's sort of like one of the messages of the movie, you know, especially like at the beginning where, you know, they talked about that, where Molly is like, you know, if anyone else wants me to, I'll take you to a safe zone, a safe space. And it's like, in reality, there really is no safe space from a killer, from a bad guy, from a monster. And so anyways, I really love this sequel. I gotta be honest, like, I really hope that some people see this, because, I don't know, it just feels like people deserve this. Like, Sleepaway Camp fans, they deserve it. You know, there hasn't been a good sequel since the 80s. And we gotta fix that. So, anyways, please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought about my casting ideas, and then about the film in general. And then please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos like this. And please continue watching my Slasherverse series. The next film will obviously be Friday the 13th, part blank. And I'm just going to leave it at blank because it's kind of a spoiler if I tell you. So goodbye, everybody. See you soon.